Today I'm going to be showing you guys the process of me creating this music visualizer in Blender. I also use other tools, but this is how I made it. The project I'm doing this for is a fan-made visualizer for Wolfface Joey's new album, Valentino. Here's what's been done so far off camera. The head, the hair, and the hat are complete. Now moving on to the torso sculpt, I start aiming for a somewhat proper anatomy structure. But since the shirt is only needed, I just simplified it and I smoothed it out. Using the clay strips and mask brush, I build up the muscle, then I extrude the arms outwards. Next, I use the zero mesher to get clean topology, allowing for an easier set of addition to clothing creases with a set of VDM brushes. By the way, VDM brushes are also used in Blender as well. Harder creases are initially exaggerated, but most are smoothed out as I keep going. I masked out the collar area and I extruded to a proper thickness. Z mesher is used again for nice clean topology. The masked lasso is used on the shirt and for the tie, which is then extruded and moved off the chest with the move brush. Z mesher is used again to clean up the topology and to smooth the edges. I marked the jagged area on the shirt with the mask lasso, not using symmetry to follow my reference. I used the inflation tool to puff up the jacket, and then I scattered more VDM creases around the whole jacket. Finally, the same masking method is used for the cross bandage on the forehead. The ZBrush process is complete, and now we can export our low poly and high poly model into Substance Painter to bake the maps. This projects our high poly model onto our low poly model so that we can keep our details at a lower cost. So here's the low poly model right here with all the maps baked, and you can see how clean it looks. First I start with adding the hat's fabric, then I change the color to brown and scale the tiling. Then I created a new layer to paint in the eye socket. It makes it easier for me to view the model this way. I decided to add a different fabric to the tie and make it black. Added fabric to the shirt as well and scaled it to make it white. Once again, I added another fabric for the sweater, turned it black, and turned off the height map. For the band-aid, I badly drew in an asterisk and a heart. I don't actually know what's on his band-aid. Going back to the skin, I painted a pinkish color for the bottom lip and a dark brown color for the top lip. I decided to add a blur filter to blend in the colors well. I decided also to fake some ambient occlusion, so I added some red spots around the face and blurred it out. Next is the hat. Using the basic hard brush, I carefully placed the nose and eyes. My model isn't perfectly symmetrical, so I had to do everything manually on both sides. Next were the ears. I painted them indecently using the hard brush again, and then I went back to the eyes to add detail. At this point I forgot to add facial hair back in ZBrush, so I decided to draw on some in Substance. Once again, I have no symmetry, so I carefully scattered the hairs across his face. It turned out better than I expected, so I was happy with the result. I added a skin texture and removed the color value. Then I scaled the tiling to match the realistic pore size, and used the blur filter once again to smooth out the pores. I used Substance Painter's zipper brush to paint shiny silver zippers on both sides of the sweater. I found a nice bandage texture to add to the bandage and I scaled the tiling. Now the Substance Painter's work is done, so I imported everything into Blender. I searched BlenderKit for an eyeball model to use. I scaled the eyeball to this proper size and I moved it into place. Then I mirrored it and rotated it like my reference image. Then I searched Sketchfab for a rose model and a female hand from a Mixamo character to populate the scene. The nails were made by me in Blender after I imported the hands. To make the heart candy, I used a plane and I shaped it into a heart. Once I was done, I extruded it and I added a yellowish color. I duplicated all of them and placed them into position according to my reference. I continued to add more hands to the scene, posing the hands the correct way. I added a simple plane for the bubblegum that she's holding in this photo shoot. I duplicated and mirrored the hand and also changed the skin color for some diversity. I did the hand in the back next. I posed it like the reference and I gave it a rose. But this time I combined 3 roses into one, just like how it is in the reference. I added another hand on the left side and I gave it another 3-in-1 rose. Once into position, I changed the roses to a pink color instead of red. I added the last hand and I gave it another 3-in-1 rose. I moved it carefully into position and then I made 2 out of 3 of the roses pink by selecting faces. Now it's time to animate. This only consists of 2 keyframes for each object, so it went by very fast. It's all about the slightest movement. I gave his eye shape keys using the mask tool so he can blink when the camera comes closer. I added some basic lighting to match the reddish romantic feel of the cover. I do some final touches for the animation. and then I added a white background behind him. In compositing, I added some glare and some fog. I also added a hair sim, which I didn't cover. I did some final tweaks in Premiere Pro, and here's the final result. This was the process of me creating this music visualizer in Blender. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see next. Make sure to follow my Instagram at Blender3d and comment on my post and tag Wolfface Joey because he hasn't seen the animation yet.